There we go. We're back for another round.
Oh, round two,
Round two.
episode two.
We're going to do it today. We're going to talk about the history of the NHL
Very nice.
and the history of our team, Utah Hockey.
Our sort of team, the
Our
team
sort
we
of-
inherited without their history.
Yes. It's our team now, though.
It is our
It's
team.
not a sort of team, it's a team.
Exactly.
No name yet. Utah Hockey. Something like that. NHL Utah. I don't know. Utah. And then we'll talk about some of the rumored names.
Okay. Sounds like,
Sounds good.
oh, I'm excited.
There we
Ryan
go.
is gonna educate us on the history of the NHL because I'm a newbie enough that I don't quite know what I'm doing. I can tell you it started in like 1917.
1917. How many teams?
4.
And then it grew to 6. The original 6. Yeah, so we had the original 6 teams that first started playing as the actual NHL in 1917. We had the
They're all Canadian teams to start, right?
they were all, well, that was pre-NHL. That was
Okay.
NHA, which was all Canadian teams. It expanded to the United States, which was the Boston Bruins, Chicago Blackhawks, what we know now as the Detroit Red Wings. They started as the Detroit Cougars, and the New York Rangers, and then we had Toronto Maple Leafs and Montreal Canadiens, the original 6.
Very nice.
After that, expanded to 12 teams, which would have made the original 6 were the Eastern, the new ones were the Western. And then in the 60s, it grew some more. I think in the 60s, it went to 20 teams. And then the 70s ended with 21 teams. The 90s, I don't know what it's officially called, but that's the Gretzky era. Late 80s, early 90s, and then hockey grew. He came to California, to the Kings, and California ended up having 3 teams later on. San Jose Sharks, the Ducks. And hockey's grown now. They consider Utah the 33rd team, even though there's 32 teams, but I don't know what they're calling it, but the Coyotes are on a break. They're
Yeah,
they're
what
I
is it?
don't know what they're calling it, but
Suspended, right?
suspended. Yeah, they got suspended for a little while.
Yeah,
They weren't doing good. They got suspended, and so they're technically we are the 33rd team. Technically, that's a brief for those that didn't know. Now you know.
nice. So let's we're gonna talk about Gretzky a little later because he's got some history with the Arizona Coyotes actually.
Yes, he does.
But for us newbies, is he the GOAT?
He's the GOAT.
He's
I don't care what anyone says. Some people try to say Ovechkin's number 2 GOAT or the new GOAT. No, he's not. He's nowhere near Gretzky. He maybe has coming close to all-time scores, goals, but yeah, Gretzky had all kinds of records, and Ovechkin's nowhere near him.
great to know.
That's just my opinion, and it's fact.
I mean, this is a hockey podcast, but some NBA fans might think that LeBron's the GOAT of the NHL too somehow.
Yeah, he's the GOAT of flopping. That's all I know about him.
Oh man, do you think LeBron could last a day in the NHL?
No, he get hit. Rempe from the Rangers at him, put a hit on him, and he'll end his career. He'll be done.
Oh, that would be. I'd enjoy that probably a little too much.
It'd be fun.
Oh, well, awesome. Couple questions. Who's the like? So not the Green Bay Packers. Wow, now it's a football podcast.
I know nothing about them.
the history of the NBA really favored some of those early teams in the
Yes.
NBA. Just Boston and the Minneapolis Lakers won a majority of the championships. So historically, it looks like those teams were killing everybody. But really, it was just in the early years. So who are kind of those teams in the NHL? Would it be the original six, or are there
There's
others?
the original six, definitely. Montreal, Toronto. Um, those are probably the ones. A lot of cups early on. So their fan bases are, "Oh, we have so many cups." Like, yeah, you had those many cups when there was only six teams. So your odds of winning it were a lot higher. Oh,
1 and 6.
so not that they weren't good, but yeah, you got a 1 in 6 chance of winning
Yeah.
it. So yeah, they have definitely do have more cups
And
because of that.
and cups travel though, right? You don't keep a cup.
You do not keep the cup. The cup is in Toronto. That's where the NHL, but it is National Hockey League, but founded in Canada. That's the
Okay.
nation that it is. We're here in the U.S., but yeah, the headquarters are in Toronto, Canada. That's where the Hockey Hall of Fame is, and that's where the cup is.
Okay.
Um, they win the cup. The players get 24 hours with it and do what they want with it.
What
So
about?
if that cup could talk, I'm sure it would tell some cool stories.
Oh, I bet it's probably seen everything. Did an Avs player break it last year?
It's been broken a few times.
Okay.
Yeah, we broke it before the team pitcher a couple years ago.
Uh,
Vegas won it last year, but we won it 2 years ago.
oh yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant.
But
Couple
yeah, he
years
was
ago.
skating to the team pitcher and tripped and put a dink in it. And then I don't know if it was later that night, the next night, Curtis McDermott was drunk, lifted it over his head and tipped it over backwards. And that cup's
Uh,
been repaired lots of times.
maybe that's our next
Mhm.
podcast. If the cup could talk.
It'd be a good one.
Oh, that'd be fun to hear those stories. Man, too bad fans don't get a cup. What would you do with the cup for 24 hours?
Probably fill with Diet Dr. Pepper and drink it.
uh, I can attest to that. I don't think I would do the same, but I can attest that that is 100% what Ryan would do.
That's, yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of a homebody. I don't like to go out a lot, so that's what I do with it.
Understandable. Well, I'll have to think about mine. My first thought is like pour me a bowl of Wheaties,
There you go.
clean it out
Breakfast
good.
of Champions.
Breakfast champions, man. Exactly. Clean it out a little bit later in the day, throw some wings in it. Who
There you go.
knows? But pretty cool. Well, definitely we'll have to cover some more teams and some more histories as we go on. But I'm also super excited to talk about how we got there. It feels like the 100-foot view, like everything had to fall into place perfectly for the Utah hockey team, hockey club, whatever, for Utah to get a team, right?
Yeah.
Um, we've already mentioned this, but the Coyotes are a suspended, defunct, whatever team. So Utah is actually starting fresh. It's a new team, new history, new everything. 0-0-0 record all the way across. But we do have the unique history that we are a relocated organization of sorts.
Yep.
But how did we get there? What's the history of the Coyotes?
So the Coyotes, when we went over the history of the NHL, kind of why we did it in the 70s when it grew. In 1972, the Winnipeg Jets became a team. They were there until 95, 96, somewhere in there. They were struggling facility-wise. Winnipeg had good fan base, and they still do. So don't confuse it with the Winnipeg Jets that are there now, because it's not the same. So Winnipeg went away and relocated and were sold to a group in Arizona. They became, at that time, it was the Phoenix Coyotes. And they had different owners throughout the time. They franchise itself continued to struggle facility-wise. Like you mentioned earlier, we'll talk about Gretzky. Later on, he became partial owner and coach for a period of time. He left in 90, or I forgot when he left. When did he leave? Sometime. Sorry. But then they renamed themselves to the Arizona Coyotes. Went to a couple different arenas. Eventually ended up playing in a Mullet Arena. Seated 4,500 fans. I don't think the NHL liked that, and there wasn't a plan in place, solid plan in place. Alex Murillo, I guess, has things going, but nothing was set in stone. There was no dates, no land purchase, no contract at an arena.
Man.
Supposedly they contacted Ryan Smith, who has been wanting an NHL team here. Said, all right, it's not going to be an expansion team like what Ryan Smith originally wanted, was an expansion team, but we got a team here.
We got a new team now.
Got a new team
half of what
because
he wanted.
Arizona is keeping their history, stats, everything stays with them. We inherited a roster with zeros across the board.
And 13 draft picks.
13 draft picks, and I was listening to something today. If they can use Shea Weber, who they have under contract, and other money they have freed up, but if they can put Shea Weber onto LTIR because he's not playing, that frees up another $7 million. We will have $40 million to play with before the season starts to bring players in.
Goodness gracious. So like a max NBA contract can be as much as like $56 million a flipping year. What's the max, or what's typical in the NHL?
This season, Nathan McKinnon is the highest paid player, and I think he's about 12. I don't know the exact, but it's 12 point something a year. So it's not as big as other leagues.
So parents, if you want your kids to grow tough and play a tough sport, teach them hockey. If you want them to be rich, teach them NBA, teach them basketball.
Teach them basketball. They can miss weeks at a time for a broken nail, and no one will question them.
Ain't that the truth? Couple highlights of the Coyote Jets history that I thought were really cool is, so the Winnipeg Jets became a team in 1972, but they were part of the WHA.
True, yes.
And they were actually super successful. It was something like, I remember reading like 5 of 7 years they were in the championship and they won 3 of those. Only to expand in the NHL. The rules for their merger were kind of unfortunate for them. They lost a lot of their key players in the so jumping over to NFL is just what I'm familiar with, but when not the XFL, but way back, Steve Young was part of this league. Do you know what I'm talking about?
It was, yeah, I think it was the XFL.
Was it the XFL? I'm second guessing myself. We'll confirm that here in a minute. But basically, the WHA was trying to do this whole expansion alternative league. They didn't do very well, but a lot of good players had jumped from the NHL to the WHA. And when the merger came, then those players contractually or whatever other teams had rights to them. So they ended up going back to those teams and they kind of had a redistribution draft. Basically took any wind out of the sails, and the Winnipeg Jets 1.0 would lose all their players. And since then, the franchise kind of been what some would call a poverty franchise. They haven't won many times.
They haven't won. They made it to the playoffs.
A few times. Small handful.
Well, they did. They didn't make it far. But they had a run where it was like 7 years in a row they made it to the
Okay.
playoffs. Only a couple times did they make it to like the conference finals. I think both times they were beat by the Kings. I know for sure once. I don't know the second time, but I think it
Okay.
was the Kings.
So they've never been to a finals, right?
Never been to
Since the WHA.
never played for a Stanley Cup.
Okay. Well, they'll
But
probably they'll probably never play for a Stanley Cup because even when they revive the franchise, if they do, man, I don't trust that ownership. But
I,
you know,
yeah, I feel bad for the fans there in Phoenix or Arizona, not Phoenix. Sorry, the whole state, the whole state's team. But hopefully, when you get a team back, I know a lot of the fans there also want new ownership.
oh yeah,
So
it's not just the fans; it's the government and the politics there. But that's a whole different bag of worms.
well,
But one of the other really interesting things or fascinating things to me is when Phoenix came to, or when the Winnipeg Jets 1.0, we'll call them. I'll call Winnipeg Jets 1.0 the team that was there from 72 until they
95,
moved in
96.
95. 2.0 is what is the established franchise now.
That was
They
the Atlanta
Thrashers.
Thrashers.
Yeah. Man, Atlanta, that's another poverty city for NHL franchises. Is they've had three teams relocated or just twice?
Twice.
Oh,
They want another team.
no,
Maybe
thanks.
they're thinking third time's a charm, maybe.
I don't know. I'm biased, but I'm like, just keep it where it's cold. Like, yeah, part
It's
of
a winter
Utah's a
sport.
desert, but we've got the greatest snow on earth, the fastest ice. Oh
It's,
man, we could talk all day long about the fastest ice. Those games are going to be so fun.
it's going to be fun.
World records were broken when the Olympics were here because of how fast our ice is. Just
Hopefully they
it's
get those
going to be
people
amazing.
to make the ice
Oh
at the
yeah.
game. That it's
Well,
going to
and
be exciting.
it's going to be really fun hockey in Utah. But the point I was getting at before I kind of got distracted, the first arena that the Phoenix Coyotes played in was actually a shared arena with the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
And it was very similar to the Utah situation where it was an NBA stadium designed for an NBA team with NBA sightlines. And it was it was not a fan favorite. And Utah's coming into that and I'm pretty anxious to be honest to kind of see what they do.
I don't
Um
think anything will be done before this season, but supposedly next season.
yeah,
We'll see.
I
I don't know. I mean, if the team goes far, they're going to have a small amount of time to. Yeah, I think it'd be easier to build something from the ground up and just reload, just move.
maybe.
But I don't know. I'm not a genius like that.
I know Ryan Smith has teased some really cool and amazing innovations to where like the risers in the upper deck of the Delta Center can also expand and rise.
Wow.
He mentioned briefly that they could remove some suites. And I know like suites are a pretty big deal in professional sports, so I'm shocked that they would remove suites, but it'll be really interesting to see when plans start coming out. I imagine that's going to be pretty soon
You think?
if they're trying to get through these 30,000 people that want season tickets.
Yeah.
It's got to be soon. But I really just seeing that history, I think Utah's different. I think Ryan Smith is different and willing to, it's his own arena. He's not fighting with another owner. So I think he's willing to make
He owns the
the
Jazz.
adjustments
Yeah,
necessary.
owns the Jazz, owns the arena.
Yeah,
He's got no one to fight with but himself.
exactly. Um,
And it's
Utah,
funny, he owns Salt Lake Real, also part owner.
uh-huh.
The other part of that owner is owner of the New Jersey Devils.
Okay.
And that, I don't know the name of the guy, but he said, I don't know if he told Ryan Smith that, but somewhere in a conversation, the owner of the Devils said, and he owns football team, so he owns other sports too. But he said to him, the most exciting thing is being on the glass at a hockey game.
Interesting.
So
Now, you've always said that you like to be like higher up so you can see the full game,
I
but
do.
this guy likes to be on the glass.
Like being on the glass is fun. Don't get me wrong, but and it's a fun experience. I wouldn't want season tickets
Okay.
on the glass because I want to be up and watch the plays develop. I like seeing that
Okay.
kind of stuff.
But I also think I misunderstood. You're saying out of like NFL games, NBA games, right?
Yeah.
Like MLS games, he likes NHL games.
He
the
likes
best.
NHL. So there's nothing better than to experience the game right up close.
I think growing up, I went to a few like local pee-wee teams, basically. Like they're definitely amateur leagues. But I grew up 5 minutes from the Provo Hockey Arena,
Okay.
the Provo Peaks Arena officially. Went to a few games.
Provo Predators.
Were they're the Predators?
Yeah.
Okay.
They were.
Oh, they were. Okay.
I don't know if when you were a kid if that's what they are, but
Yeah, I don't know. But I always remember kind of being lost, like what even is going on? But when you got me into hockey, I'm like, man, this is exciting. It's fast paced. It's low scoring enough to like keep you on the edge of your seat, so like soccer fans can appreciate that, but it's the speed and consistency of an NBA game without the flopping and the timeouts and the dead time. There is dead time in hockey, but
yeah,
the just pace of it, like I think there's going to be a lot of new hockey fans in Utah. It's going to be
I hope
lot of fun.
And Ryan Smith, before even the team was here, he was on a podcast and he said what the junior jazz is with the amount of kids playing. I think he said it was like 50, 60,000 throughout the state playing in the junior jazz organization. That's what he envisions hockey being in the state of Utah. And I think last time, or up to this year, it was like 2,500 to 3,000 kids registered and playing hockey. So he's expecting a lot of growth for the sport here.
I was a junior jazz player. You're right on the nose. I think it was 50 to 60,000 kids are in the junior jazz league. Arizona actually had a junior hockey league. I don't know if they were the junior Coyotes or whatever. That is staying as an active organization in Phoenix. So that was really cool. But Ryan Smith has got multiple people to commit to put in more rinks and stuff, and it's going to be really cool because junior jazz basketball, every school, every church, every corner basically has a court. So it's easy to get to those numbers. But when Utah gets the junior Utah Hockey Club team going, or league going, 50, 60,000 kids hitting ice.
Trying to get some ice.
Pretty freaking cool.
It's going to be awesome.
Well, there's one active native Utah in the NHL.
Yep. Plays for the Kings right now, I think.
We'll get a lot more.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
So, super exciting time. Again, condolences to Arizona, but it honestly seems like a lot of teams or cities end up getting at least a second chance.
Yeah.
And Winnipeg, half of Canada has got a second chance before Atlanta's got. This is a segment I've been most excited for. I don't know unless you want to add to something with the history.
No, I think we covered that pretty good.
So, to kind of segue a little better, if you're listening to this, you probably already know, but basically, just over a year ago, the people of Tempe, I believe, right, had a citizen vote for a new arena that was actually largely funded by the ownership group, but they were still asking for
some public
funding. But it lost. And I'm not gonna lie, when it lost the public vote, I was so excited. It's like, this is one more reason like Utah's getting this team. Rumors started popping up then though about Houston getting a team or Kansas City, but
Quebec.
yeah, Quebec again. And then they came up with option after option after option. And that's when the NHL came in and was like, guys, we're not going to keep holding out for you. Like, I forgot to mention this a couple years ago. I was actually in Arizona. It was their first season is in the Mullet Arena, and I was in Arizona for one of their games. I didn't actually make it to the game, but I was like, man, how cool would it be to go into this intimate experience with 4,500 other fans? But didn't make it, unfortunately. But as cool as that is, it's a once in a lifetime experience for a fan. But it's not sustainable as a franchise. So,
No.
and the NHL is definitely going to frown upon it. So that's when, after the ownership in Arizona was like, oh, well, we've got this public land we're going to bid on, and we've got this, and we've got this. And the NHL's like, look, we don't got the time. Meanwhile, you mentioned this earlier, Ryan Smith has been reaching out to the board of governors, the NHL, for a couple of years now.
Gary Bettman,
we're ready. Like, we want a team. We're ready to expand. Like, we want to do what's been done in Vegas. Like, let's go.
No.
And he's kind of been like, we just expanded 2 teams. Like, we're not there yet. And I think had we waited for an expansion team, it would have been 5+ years. So it's kind of interesting that this is kind of giving Arizona a chance to like accelerate any expansion. But
and other cities too, because
they're not
just bringing in one team messes up all the divisions and everything. Yeah. So it's going to give other cities the opportunity to have NHL as well, which is good.
It's definitely going to expand it fast. I read, anyway, we'll get into that part. But basically, Gary Bettman and the NHL came to Ryan Smith January, basically, and we're like, could you do this? And it wasn't until basically March that they're like, yeah, we're going to move forward with this. We want you to buy the team. This is how it's going to work, yada, yada, yada. So that's when we got into the Utah team. But things moved fast. Like, if Ryan Smith has really been entertaining buying a team for a couple of years, I imagine he's got an idea or two about what he wants to name the team.
You would think.
But
he wants the fans to be able to pick.
He really wants to give fans ownership. So, Ryan, explain kind of how the name will come to be in Utah.
So, what we hear is it's going to be bracket style, kind of like March Madness. Names going up against each other, and fans get to vote, and then the winner moves to the next bracket, and fans get to vote the name of the team. Right now there are, and who knows where these are coming from, but they've been patented with the U.S. Patent Office for NHL teams in Utah. So we'll go in no particular order here.
Okay.
But we'll talk about them. We'll pros and cons, and then we'll kind of do a bracket challenge of our own. So one of the names here, and let me know what you think, pros and cons. Okay. Utah Mammoth. Or Mammoths, if you want it to be pro, but I think Mammoth, in my opinion, sounds better.
Oh, really? I actually like Mammoths.
Mammoths?
Yeah. Sounds a little odd, but someone on Twitter was like, oh, it's anyone who knows proper English knows that mammoth is the plural. That's like calling deer, or deers or something. Anyway, that doesn't sound like the example. But anyway, so I went and Googled it. The plural of mammoth is mammoths. But, man, you started off with my hands down favorite early. When I first heard mammoth, I was like, that's dumb. Like, no one wants that. But it has grown on me, and honestly, like, we're kind of spoil a little bit of the upcoming segment, but it's my favorite. I think not only have they found mammoth fossils in Utah, but there's no other professional league that I know of that are the mammoth or that have a connection with mammoth. So it's extremely unique. It's Utah. It's like mammoth are beastly. Like
The,
it's
yeah.
maybe a predator can take it down, maybe not, but we'll probably fend off Nashville. They're not doing too
Hmm.
hot.
So those are your pros. What are the cons?
Cons? I mean, you said mammoth. I personally don't like mammoth. If it were just mammoth, it does get bumped down a little bit. For nothing other than I guess it's just feels like it's pretty common that most team names are plural. And just mammoth feels like a size, not a stampede of mammoths. Can't really think of some. You could really butcher the colors, but you could butcher colors with all of these. Can't really think of any right now.
All right.
Okay, Ryan, the next one on the list is the Utah Fury.
Utah Fury. When I think Utah Fury, and you got to think, team wants to sell merchandise. They want to make money off merchandise. What the heck is a Fury? Oh, I guess I'm starting with a con.
Right.
But you see, if you were to put a Fury on a hat, how is anyone going to know it's a Fury? What is a Fury? I think in the branding, not just the name, but the branding, it has to, your logo, people have to know what it's associated with and what it is. I don't think Fury has that, unless you're trying to use a Night Fury from How to Train a Dragon or something. But I don't know what a Fury is. Do you know what a Fury is?
No,
I
I
don't
mean
study a lot and don't know a lot of things,
it
but I
it
don't
sounds
know
to
what a
me
Fury
like
is.
a snow flurry,
Uh, Maybe, yeah.
but I don't know.
But on the flip, I guess there's a lot of things you could do with it because you got open slate. You can make Fury be whatever you want it to be. So the mascot could be who knows what. It could be something mad. I don't know, something that's just full of rage and fury.
Could be
Who knows?
could be a mammoth.
It could be a mammoth. It could be the name of a mammoth. But yeah, I don't know if that one's going to go far in the bracket.
Fair
Sorry,
enough.
I'm probably ruining for what's coming later.
For the for
But
the
that's
Fury fan.
let's go throw another one out here for you. Utah HC or Hockey Club.
Low key, it's another one I love. It's it's not a long term name, but like it's a pretty cool name. Like it's kind of rolls off the tongue. Um, it says exactly what it is, leaves no doubt. I think it's a fantastic placeholder. Like if that's our name for the next 1 to 2 seasons while we work out branding and official team name, like I can get behind that. Um, Obviously extremely reminiscent of the Washington Football Club. I did make fun of that one quite a bit though, but I it's one I can get behind temporarily. So it's cool, it's succinct, it invites a whole state in, and those are kind of the some of the pros. Cons are it's not exciting. Like
Yeah.
there's I'm pretty neutral, but there's the college rivalry BYU versus Utah, and a lot of salty Utah or a lot of salty BYU fans would probably be pretty bitter about like the "Let's go Utah" chants or whatever. But not a reason to avoid that name. Kind of, I'm trying to think what else I really think of it, but I think that probably wraps it up. Great
It
name, great placeholder. I think
it's
getting fan merch for that 1 or 2 years is going to be pretty historic. Like,
be definitely.
but beyond that, like, move on to the Mammoths already.
See, it reminds me of other than it having H for hockey, reminds me of a soccer team name.
Definitely.
A lot of those, I don't watch soccer, but I know like a lot of those clubs in Europe have similar things, just place they're from and then soccer club or soccer team, or that's what it reminds me of. But yeah, good placeholder for meantime until they get our branding and name done.
Definitely. Okay. A pretty big fan favorite, Ryan. Share your thoughts on the Utah Outlaw
I
or
like
Outlaws.
I like the Outlaws. At first I didn't, and I've seen obviously these aren't the people Ryan Smith has hired, but people putting out renditions of what that logo could look like. It's grown on me. Yeah, I like that one. I mean, it just makes you think the West, the Outlaw, like the West and
Butch Cassidy,
Butch
they
Cassidy. Just
got quite a bit of history in Utah.
you got history in Utah. It's like the West, right? And
Yeah.
we're in the Western Conference. You coming out to the West, you're gonna face the Outlaws. I think it sounds cool. The cons somewhere when looking at this and reading things that I've read, I guess there's like 27 professional teams with the
Oh my
name
goodness.
Outlaw, so it's pretty well used throughout sports. So that's the con. But I mean, there's other teams that share names with other, like you mentioned, the Mammoth. There's the Colorado Mammoth, the lacrosse team.
No, there is.
So yeah,
Uh,
but I'm saying you can
yeah.
share a team name
Oh, for sure.
as long as you're not in the same league.
One that's not there is the Utah Raptors,
Yeah,
but that
that
one I
one's
think is
not
really
there.
cool and it's a pretty popular name. The one thing I don't love about the Outlaws, and I don't know if this is just I'm trying to distance myself that much more from their Arizona franchise, but it was actually runner up for one of the team names
Oh,
when they
really?
relocated.
I didn't know that.
So I'm like, I feel like it's unoriginal in a sense of like we can't come up with our own ideas and we're once again stealing from the Arizona team. One early fan suggestion getting away from our eight was the Utah Phoenix. Like Phoenix would be a bad A name, pays homage to the Arizona Coyotes, you know.
And rising
But
from the ashes that they
yeah,
turned it into.
but yeah, that would also be confusing to someone who's less
Where are you going?
dyslexic.
Utah Phoenix. No, Phoenix is not in Utah.
I had a friend though who spent a weekend in Paris this last week.
Paris, California.
Paris, Idaho.
Oh, Paris, Idaho.
So, crazier things have happened. But those are one that's not one of the rumored eight.
So another one of these eight, Utah Blizzard.
Utah Blizzard.
What do you
Man.
think? What do you think about that?
So Utah Jazz, at one point the bees were buzzed, and we had the stars. Um, for some reason, I guess it's just the fact that there's no jazz music in Utah. People have tried to associate the double Z with Utah, and I don't like it. Um, Blizzard reminds me too much of Dairy Queen, and as great as the Blizzards are, like it's just a cheap fast food ice cream. Don't hate me. We've all had our Blizzards, but um, it's also awfully close to the Avalanche. And once again, it just lacks being original. But you can't deny that Utah has some great blizzards. Not much in the valley, but
If you don't pay attention, a blizzard's gonna
yeah,
run you.
we will get hit pretty hard at times. But it's very reminiscent of Utah. Speaks to the altitude, the greatest snow on earth. Lots of great things that are related to Utah, but
What do you picture the logo being of the blizzard?
kind of like just a whiteout, just a white logo.
Just oh, just a blank space there.
Yeah. I mean, what else is a blizzard? No,
So if any of you want to support the Blizzards but wear a white T-shirt
I
around, we
mean,
got you.
we could have some fire jerseys just with like white jerseys with white like
White numbers
shiny
on them.
numbers, but have like a slight gray outline. You could do a lot of cool things with like a whiteout, but um, really though, I almost think of like a tornado, but out of snow. But that's not at all what a blizzard is. But I think that's one way you represent it. Again, it's kind of similar to the Avalanche. Like they've got
Yeah.
that kind of V, like
Wrapping around
wrapping
the
around
with the
shape.
puck
So
coming out of it.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree with you on that. It's similar to the Avalanche. I mean, they're different things, both forces of nature with snow, but yeah, I don't see it as a professional sports team name.
yeah.
No way to. I can't envision a logo. That's why I asked you what you would think of. Because
I mean,
I think of the Dairy Queen ice cream, and you don't want that
you
on your hockey jersey.
you could do an animal. Like at that point, you could do an elk. You could do something like that. Buffalo are native to Utah. I know there's lots of Buffalo teams. The Sabres or whatever, right?
Sabers.
Sabres.
You've been
So,
watching The Office too much.
should have known better, but you know, speaking on a whim isn't always my highlight. Um, High point. Okay. Oh, Ryan, it's your turn to talk about the Utah
The
Yetis.
Yetis. That's in my top few. I don't want to ruin it, but it's up there.
Okay.
A lot of people say it's too similar to the Avalanche because the Avalanche used to have a
Oh,
Yeti mascot that ended in 2014, I believe. That's a decade ago, or 2015. So it was almost a decade ago. Next season, it will be 10 years removed. But I like it. I think there's a lot of things you can do with it. To your point earlier, the BYU fans and the Utah fans, it brings the U and the Y together.
hey.
Um, Lots of things you could do with that. And just the Yeti itself. I love the
Yeah.
images of the Yeti. One of my favorite rides at Disneyland is the Matterhorn. And you go through the tunnel and pop out, and there's the abominable snowman Yeti right there. It's cool. It's surprises you. I think it'd be a great mascot. Cool team name.
It's also pretty unique, right?
Pretty unique. I don't know of any other professional team named the Yeti. Some people were saying a con on this would be is it the cup, the Yeti cups or the coolers?
Oh, I was
Like,
like,
are they going to be a team sponsor? But
it's like
no,
the
I.
Stanley Cup.
But I think I like the Yeti.
Oh, that would be cool to brand a Stanley Cup with the Yeti logo.
There you go.
The ultimate Utah
To-
soccer mom cup. Very
I
neat.
can do it.
Very neat. Okay, we're down to two.
Down to two. Let's see. Have you take on the Utah Venom?
Man, I love this one. Um, it's not my favorite, but it's a pretty cool name. Like you fear Venom, but it can be just about anything. Like it could be a snake, it could be a scorpion. That was one too that people suggested is the Utah Scorpions. It could be
The B.
a bee. It could be uh spider, snake, bee, scorpion. Like
Switch it up.
switch it up every season, right?
Home jersey, away jersey, and then an alternate.
Either you could play with it quite a bit. Instinct is they probably go with the snake. There's all sorts of snakes in Utah, from north to south, east to west. Whereas like people are like, oh, there's scorpions all over Utah. I've never seen a scorpion in my living life here. Like, but I know they're in the south, right? But spiders are all over. So, but snakes would probably be the go-to. But you could get really creative with it. So it's got a wide range of options. It sounds fierce. It sounds cool. You could do some sick colors. Like any color on black would just pop and look so bad
Yeah.
in a good way. Cons, it does feel a little bit amateurish. It's
Like a kid soccer
like a
team or
kid
something.
soccer team or something. So it doesn't seem as original and amateur. It does seem amateurish, but overall I like it.
No, I agree. I think you could do a lot with it. for the branding. A lot of colorways you could use with that.
Definitely. Okay, well, Vanilla Ice might have a thing or two to say about our last one, but I almost called it the Vanilla Ice. I've cornered myself with that one, the Utah Ice.
That's a no-go.
That's
You're you're playing hockey on ice. Every team out there has ice. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
but
you
is it as
mentioned,
fast as
we got
Utah
the
Ice?
fastest ice on Earth, but it's I don't know.
That one feels.
Feels like they asked a kindergarten class,
I was gonna say.
"Hey, what would you name this team?" And they don't even tell them it's hockey. You just show a little clip of people ice skating, and hey, that's the ice.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I don't know. I
Got an
know it's
ice
out there,
cube on
but
the jersey.
Ryan Smith's family. I know he's got young kids, but I wouldn't doubt it if he asked his youngest, "Hey, what's your daddy name his new hockey team?" Don't don't patent my mimic of Ryan Smith's voice. That's not what he sounds like. But I wouldn't be surprised if his daughter was like, "Ooh, ice, daddy, give me ice." I don't know. Maybe he was
That's
rocking out to Vanilla Ice too.
maybe.
But yeah, I'm with you. It's a no go. Harder logo to come up with in the Blizzard. Um, Plus the flames would melt the crap out of us, turn us to gas. Like
Yeah.
it's
It's
not a great one. Well,
so how we gonna do this brackets?
I think we
Did
seed
you
them.
build them?
I think we seed them 1 through 8. So let's we can do tiebreakers as we talk, but initially let's go Utah Venom. Where do we want to rank that one 1 through 8? Just as a seed, right?
Just do one.
Okay. Utah Mammoths or Utah
Yeah,
Mammoth.
just go 2,
Utah Outlaws.
3.
You're making this too easy. Utah
I try.
Yeti.
I try. Ooh, let's do that one 6. And 3 for a loop.
Utah Hockey Club. Utah HC.
What's open?
4, 5,
Let's
7.
go 4.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we got 5, 7, 8 left. Utah Blizzard.
8.
8. Utah Fury.
5.
5, and that gives Utah Ice numero 7. Okay. So, oh man, okay. So now I'm gonna put them together. Utah Venom will face the Utah Blizzard, and then Utah Fury. No, Utah Hockey Club, same thing. We'll face the Fury. Yetis and Ice. Oh no. 1 plays 8. Let's do it this way. 2 plays 7. 3 plays 6. Okay, so we've got a rough bracket here.
All right.
Let's start from the middle. Fury versus Hockey Club. Who do you advance?
Fury versus Hockey Club. I'm gonna have to go with Hockey Club on that one.
Ditto.
That's just because I don't know what Fury is. I know what a Hockey Club is.
Oh. Okay, seeding was random, but number 2 Utah Mammoth versus number 7 Utah Ice.
Oh, that's easy. That's the Mammoth.
Agree with you there. Okay. The upper bracket's a little harder. Utah Venom with our number 1 seed and Utah Blizzard with number 8.
I'll go with Venom.
Venom. Okay. It's hard, but I'll side with you on that one. And at the last of round 1, the Utah Outlaws versus the Utah Yetis.
That's a hard one for me. I like those both.
Hey, you seeded this.
I don't know. I think both those can be branded real well. Have some cool color schemes. But I'm gonna go with the Yeti.
Okay, I was gonna go with the Yeti. The tiebreaker for me was, even though people say Yetis are stolen from the Avs, Outlaws are stolen from Phoenix, and it's just not quite as original as I'd hope. So I'd eliminate the Outlaws and move the Yetis forward. Okay, remaining in our top 4. Yeah, we have the Mammoth, Hockey Club, the Yetis, and Venom. Okay, so Hockey Club versus Mammoth.
Mammoth.
Easy. And the Venom versus Yetis.
The Yetis.
Same. Man, this was too predictable. It'll be interesting to see what the other fans think. Okay. And in the Grand Championship, the Yetis versus the Mammoth.
That's a hard one. I like both these. And then the Outlaws. Probably. Those are my top
So
three.
your top three would
Those
be
are my top
Yeti,
three.
Yeti, Mammoth, Outlaws, in no particular order.
But the Mammoth, if you would have asked me a while ago, I would have said the Yetis for sure. But the Mammoth has grown on me. I've seen some cool artwork with how it could be branded, and both of them could be awesome. I think I'm going to go with the Mammoth.
I mean, I opened with the Mammoth and said it was my favorite, so sadly, when I first heard the Yeti, I loved Yeti's Yeti. I loved it, but sadly, it has fallen from grace, and the Mammoth is definitely my favorite. So,
It is in Utah. They found fossils of it here, so it represents the state.
It's an Ice Age animal.
It's Yetis are fictional, or there's actually fossils of mammoths found here in the state, which is, so I think it represents the state.
Agreed. Well, there you have it. In our bracket, Mammoth have won. So, well, that's probably all the time we have for today.
We'll be back.
We'll be back for some more exciting news and updates shortly, but keep on listening to us. We're out.